Do your best to fulfill whatever dream it is that makes you happy. These are the words of Lieutenant Colonel Paul Peyton, because history has earned you the right to make choices to celebrate liberty. But what of the men and women who sacrifice some aspect of themselves, if not their lives, to protect our basic freedoms? What is to become of their heroic deeds, memories lost in the collective mists of time? Welcome to an hour of remembrance presented by the No Stone Left Alone Memorial Foundation, whose goal is to have all soldiers' headstones in Canada one day recognized by a poppy, the symbol of remembrance, and also to educate our youth in an authentic outreach education event which cannot be duplicated in a classroom setting. My name is Tony King. I'm going to lead you along this virtual journey through the corridors of history and, yes, into the graveyards of fallen soldiers. But this is by no means a somber journey. Rather, it's celebratory in nature because we are casting a respectful gaze at history through the eyes of a child.
I hear him before I go to sleep and focus on the day that's been. I realize he's there when I turn the light off and turn over. Nobody knows about my man. They think he's lost on some horizon, and suddenly I find myself listening to a man I've never known before, telling me about the sea. All his loves till eternity. Ooh, he's here again. The man with the child in his eyes. Ooh, he's here again. The man with the child in his eyes.
That's a little segment from Kate Bush reflecting on the innocence that can be found in all of us when we look deeply into one's eyes. Man with the child in his eyes is the track. This is the No Stone Left Alone radio special. I'm Tony King.
Attending No Stone Left Alone was a great experience for me. It was a pleasure and a great honor to be one of the schools that was invited to the ceremony. While we were there, it was really inspiring to see all of the soldiers there to support their comrades, even though they didn't know all of them. It was also very inspiring to listen to the speeches that had been said, because there was a lot of people that had passed away protecting us, and they had the ceremony specifically for them, stating that we do remember and that no one will be forgotten. It was really cold out and a lot of us were complaining. But then we were told to imagine what kind of weather temperatures soldiers had to go through and how they did not complain. They just stayed strong and kept their head up. It really got me thinking, and I'm very thankful for all the soldiers out there fighting for their countries and those who have passed away fighting for their countries. My favorite part was when we put the poppies on the graves, because we got to show respect for all the soldiers, and it was very heartwarming. It was honestly a great experience that touched my heart, and I'm glad I got the opportunity to be there.
That was the voice of Harmony, a student in the Nellie McClung program in Oliver School, reading a letter of reflection in placing a poppy on the gravestone of a fallen soldier. The No Stone Left Alone Memorial Foundation is a not-for-profit organization built over the last 5 years through the hard work of Maureen Bianchini Purvis and her husband Randall Purvis. The mission of the foundation is to educate our youth, commemorate our fallen soldiers, and honor our military, past and present.
I got your letter today. and I miss you all so much here. I can't wait to see you all, and I'm counting the days, dear. I still believe that there's gold at the end of the world, and I'll come home to Illinois on the day after tomorrow. It is so hard and it's cold here, and I'm tired of taking orders, and I miss old Rockford town up by the Wisconsin border. But I miss you, won't believe, shoveling snow and raking leaves, and my plane will touch down on the day after tomorrow. I close my eyes every night, and I dream that I can hold you. They fill us full of lies everyone buys about what it means to be a soldier. I still don't know how I'm supposed to feel about all the blood that's been spilled. Will God on his throne get me back home on the day after tomorrow? You can't deny the other side don't wanna die any more than we do. What I'm trying to say is, don't they pray to the same God that we do? Tell me, how does God choose? Whose prayers does he refuse? Who turns the wheel? Who throws the dice on the day after tomorrow? I'm not fighting for justice. I am not fighting for freedom. I am fighting for my life and another day in the world here. I just do what I've been told. We're just the gravel on the road, and only the lucky ones come home on the day after tomorrow. And the summer, it too will fade, and with it brings the winter's frost, dear. And I know we two are made of all the things that we have lost here. I'll be 21 today. I've been saving all my pay, and my plane will touch down on the day after tomorrow, and my plane, it will touch down on the day after tomorrow.
That was Tom Waits, capturing very vividly the internal turmoil of serving your country and being stationed in a foreign land in his beautiful song, The Day After Tomorrow. We are honoring the military, the challenges and rewards of taking up arms and acting as peacekeepers, both historically and currently. I'm Tony King. This is the No Stone Left Alone radio special. The No Stone Left Alone Memorial Foundation was established by Maureen Bianchini Purvis. The organization is in its 5th year of operation. No Stone Left Alone, it's a memorial foundation. What inspired this idea initially?
No Stone was inspired by my mother, who passed away when I was a young girl at 12. Her and my father were both soldiers in World War II. And as she was passing, she was quite ill, she asked not to be forgotten on Armistice Day. So as a young child, I kept that word, and I would take my poppy that we all wear every November, and I would take it out and place it on her headstone as a 13-year-old girl, and I've placed it ever since. And as time went on, raising my own children, having grandchildren now, we decided as a family, why doesn't everybody receive that honor?
To continue the legacy of your mother, that's very profound. Not to mention, it must have been very affecting to lose your mother at such a young age. It is certainly a very personal statement you're making with this foundation, No Stone Left Alone. Can you talk about why you chose to carry it on rather than just be embroiled in the, well, I assume, the sadness of losing a parent at such a young age?
First of all, being that young girl, I didn't even know what armistice meant. I had to go and figure that out.
Okay.
And then it was just a personal thing I did to connect with her and have a quiet, reflecting moment of honoring that she asked me not to forget her. And then with my children, as they grew a little bit older into their teens, we would always place our poppies as a family and then go stand back at the cenotaph at Beechmount Cemetery and look out over the thousands and thousands of headstones. And my young daughter just said, Mom, why don't they all get one? And why can't we do this? So as years went on now with my grandchildren, I thought, well, why don't we just try? I thought I would try with some friends and just honor them that way. And in the meantime, I just wrote a letter to the Minister of Veterans Affairs and said, I have an idea. This is an idea I have. And he wrote back and encouraged me. He said, this is a wonderful idea. I support this, and I encourage you to reach out to your community. And I was lucky enough to have had an opportunity to go to 2 different schools initially, and the first school we went to, which was the Oliver Nellie McClung program, and the principal there, Tracy Poulin, who is
she's fabulous
today on our
her.
board of directors and has been with us since the beginning, just embraced the idea and the same emotion I had. And then through a lieutenant colonel, we had met through sponsoring a dance when the soldiers came home from Afghanistan. We met with him, and between all of us, we said, let's do this.
Take my head on your shoulder, Daddy. Tell me the tale once more. I've often asked you to tell me, Daddy, what you did in the great, great war. What did you do in the Great War, Bertie? I said the young man from the grocery store took no coupons from the woman next door whose husband was on the tribunal. All single girls got butter fresh and lumps of sugar large. To married ones I gave the moist and half an ounce of march. And that's what I did in the Great War, Daddy. What did you do in the Great War, Maria? I said the maiden aunt with zeal tried to knit a pair of socks but couldn't turn the heel, so I changed it into a hearth rug. I knitted chest protectors and warm body belts galore, embroidering them in colored silk with roses round the door. And that's what I did in the Great War, Daddy. What did you do in the Great War, Frederick? I said the special from 10 to 4 guarded the local reservoir and saw that no one drank it. When small boys got impertinent, I soon applied the stopper and frightened them by threatening to whistle for a copper. And that's what I did in the Great War, Daddy. What did you do in the Great War, Muriel? I said the land girl rose at 6. I fed the cows and milked the chicks. I was a farmer's boy. I said goodbye to crepe machines and pretty low-neck blouses, and wore an old thick flannel shirt and an ugly pair of braces. And that's what I did in the Great War, Daddy. What did you do in the Great War, Bill? I said the man who made munitions fed real grand, no chip and fissions, passed me the asparagus. Me and my missus went in shops and bought each thing they showed us. I changed me shirt each week and bought 2 pianos with me bonus. And that's what I did in the Great War, Daddy. What did you do in the Great War, James? I said the lady with voice pathetic sang songs without giving an anesthetic. I sang to soldiers, I sang to wounded Tommies with their beds all in a row. We do not want to lose you, but we think you ought to go. And that's what I did in the Great War, Daddy. And all the profiteers who had lived so long in clover fell a sighing and a sobbing when they heard the war was over, for they'd all made their bid in the Great War, Daddy.
That was vocalist Tom Clare, and What Did You Do in the War, Daddy, recorded in 1918. Prior to Tom Clare, we heard from No Stone Left Alone founder Maureen Bianchini-Purvis talking about the very personal inspiration behind the formation of the Memorial Foundation. On June 30th, 1948, the Royal Canadian Legion was given the responsibility to safeguard the scarlet-dappled poppy as a sacred symbol of Remembrance Day by the people of Canada through an act of Parliament. Throughout history, dating back to the ancient Egyptians, the poppy has come to symbolize the peace of eternal sleep. In the days leading up to November 11th, the poppy will get some well-deserved recognition from a new generation of students right across this country, thanks to the No Stone Left Alone Memorial Foundation. In an act of remembering, students will have the opportunity to place a poppy on the grave of a soldier while reciting their name. Colonel Paul J. Payton is commanding officer with Lord Strathcona's Horse, a regiment based in Edmonton. Here, he presides over the ceremony at Beechmount Cemetery.
Ladies and gentlemen, and most importantly, students, I'm Lieutenant Colonel Paul Payton, and I have the great privilege of being the commanding officer of about 500 of your Canadian soldiers. And this morning, I'm not going to tell you what you can find in a couple minutes here, what you can find in a textbook. I'm not going to tell you how many died, how many were injured, why November 11th was chosen as a day of remembrance, or why we wear a poppy. What I'd like to tell you is what the importance of Remembrance Day and your activities on Remembrance Day is for a serving soldier. And I'd like to leave you with a message. Because a serving soldier, all of us, have a special spot in our heart every day for those that have gone before us. And most of them are names on headstones that we don't recognize. But because of their sacrifice, they've allowed us to fulfill our dream of serving our country in uniform. And sadly today, there are many that we do know, because many that we served with have been injured or have been killed. And we honor their legacy by continuing to serve and every day in our thoughts. But Remembrance Day and what you're doing here today is something different. It's not just another formal opportunity for us to recognize our fallen, our injured, and our families. But it's also an opportunity or an occasion that instills great pride in a serving member. Because a soldier doesn't serve for recognition. He doesn't ask for a medal, he doesn't ask for a pat on the back, and he doesn't expect to be thanked. But on Remembrance Day and activities like this, you do exactly that. You pay honor to our fallen comrades, you're mindful of our wounded, you're mindful of the families who've lost loved ones, and those families that live with the torment because they've had a loved one that was injured in a far-off land. And through your thoughts and actions, serving soldiers feel appreciated, and we gain strength from that. If I can leave you with one message, it would be this, to all of you here and all of you that are listening in your schools. Respect one another. Be tolerant to the views of each other, but stand firm in what you know to be right. Do your very best to fulfill whatever dream it is that makes you happy. And above all, find a way every day to smile and to have fun. Because those that lie in the graves that you'll visit today, that is why they paid the ultimate sacrifice, and that is how we can best honor what they've done for us. Thank you all.
These mist-covered mountains are home now for me, but my home is the lowlands, and always will be. Someday you'll return to your valleys and your farms, and you'll no longer burn to be brothers in through these fields of destruction, baptisms of fire, I've witnessed your suffering as the battle raged high, and though it hurt me so bad, in the fear and alarm, you did not desert me, my brothers in arms. There's so many different worlds, so many different suns, and we have just one world, but we live in different ones.
just too dark. But it's written in the starlight, in every line in your palm. We're fools to make war on our brothers in arms.
Some beautiful, very affecting work on the guitar there, thanks to Mark Knopfler and his band Dire Straits. That was the title track from their album Brothers in Arms. The music was preceded by Lieutenant Colonel Paul J. Peyton, reflecting on the importance of reflecting at this time of year. This is No Stone Left Alone, the radio special. My name is Tony King. Maureen Bianchini-Purvis, founder of No Stone Left Alone Memorial Foundation, mentioned the name of Tracy Poulin a little bit earlier on in the program. Tracy Poulin is the former principal of the Nellie McClung School at Oliver in downtown Edmonton. She was the catalyst in shepherding her students out to the Beechmount Cemetery for the very first iteration of No Stone Left Alone. Here, she reflects back on the very first time her class of girls participated in the ceremony.
Let's start something that will be a catalyst for remembering for many years to come. What happened was that children became involved, and it soon became apparent how powerful that was for all parties involved. It was powerful for the military, it was powerful for No Stone, it was powerful for the students.
And why involve the children?
Well, because they're our next generation, and a lot of these children have been untouched by war. And so even their grandparents may not have been in the war to tell the stories. Like when I was a child, my dad was in the war, so I heard the stories. You know, grandparents would tell stories. Our veterans are now getting older, and they're not hearing the story as much anymore. And we never want children to forget.
And why is it important for children to remember, lest we forget? That kind of sentiment comes up over and over again.
One of the first reasons that comes to mind is that we want children to know about the past. We are a product of our past, and we never want kids to take our freedoms, our democracy, for granted. We always want them to remember, because those people gave up their lives for us. So that's the obvious reason. One of the things that came out that even was eye-opening for myself, and it should have been something that I realized, but it just, you don't think about it. When we started the ceremony the first year, we invited the military to come back to our school to talk to us. So one of the fellows that worked with us came back and spoke to the kids. And as he was speaking, he was talking about remembering veterans. Well, this fellow is in his 30s, and he said, I am a veteran. And it was just an aha moment for everybody. Absolutely. Our veterans are not always the 90-year-olds that are sitting in the legions. They are the ones serving now. And we have people that are in their 20s and their 30s and their 40s that are serving overseas. and who have come back and are veterans of actual war-type situations.
And you talk about a veteran, which is interesting because, yes, of course, they still exist. We still are actively engaged in conflicts around the world. You talk about a veteran coming into the school to chat, and this is very much what happens typically in the course of Remembrance Day celebrations, is a veteran comes in or a handful of people come in representing the military and they talk about the past. Let's talk about getting out and the importance of that first time. Do you remember the first time, or were you involved in the first time where you took the kids out to the cemetery, and an experience that stands out from that time?
That was probably the most amazing experience that I have ever lived through. Now, I've been an educator for many years. I've been through many Remembrance Day ceremonies in the gym, and typically they were beautiful. However, I'd never seen such an authentic, engaging experience as taking the kids to the ceremony. All kids were engaged because it was like you were right there. You know, you could experience, you could feel the spirit of the soldiers there. The moment for me was after the last post was played and all the speeches had been done and the bugler had played. We turned around into the field, and coming through the trees in the cemetery were soldiers leading children. And the girls, I was the principal of an Ellie McClung program, and the girls were all in their uniforms, and they took it so seriously, and they were so reflective. And it was such a beautiful picture, seeing the soldiers with those girls in their kilts coming through the trees and solemnly laying down the poppies. Also, when the girls would lay down the poppies, it wasn't just run along and drop a poppy. It was so breathtaking to see these kids that would stand in front of the headstone, put the poppy down, and they would say the person's name, because it was really important to us that those kids realized that that was a person. It was a father, it was a brother, it was an uncle, and that they had a story, just like our loved ones have stories. And they would say the name and they would reflect for a few minutes before going on.
Take a tip, button up your lip, don't get yourself unstrung. Harm may come just from a slip of the tongue. Don't talk about the weather.
It's a military secret.
Just keep your wits together.
That's the safest way to keep it.
These are critical times. Be careful of espionage. In such critical times, you've got to watch out for sabotage. If you must talk to someone,
Don't give any information.
It's smart to be a dumb one. Simply change the conversation. Let's just talk about love, 'cause that's what I'm thinking of. And it's no military secret that I love you. Hey, how about romancing?
If you can keep a secret.
Well, can I take you dancing?
If you'll take my heart and keep it. I'm not saying a word. I'm careful whatever I do.
I guess everyone's heard I want to give all my love to you. If you gotta talk to someone, don't give any information. It's smart to be a dumb one. Simply change the conversation. Let's talk about love.
That's what I'm thinking of.
It's no secret, no secret. It's no secret that I love you.
His big band sound was synonymous in capturing the spirit of the soldiers fighting overseas in the theater of war in Germany, France, and Great Britain. That was the Glenn Miller Band and Shh, It's a Military Secret, recorded by his big band in February 1942. Glenn Miller's plane would disappear over the English Channel in 1944. You're listening to the No Stone Left Alone radio special. My name is Tony King. In a few tautly crafted lines of poetry, Canadian physician Lieutenant Colonel John McCrae would capture the visceral experience of participating in the theater of war. Flanders Fields was written when Britain declared war on Germany at the start of World War I. John McCrae was appointed as brigade surgeon and major, second in command on the 1st Brigade CFA, the Canadian Field Artillery. He treated the wounded during the Second Battle of Ypres in 1915 from a makeshift infirmary in an 8-foot by 8-foot bunker dug along the back of a dike. McCrae's friend and former militia pal, Lieutenant Alexis Helmer, was killed in the battle, and his burial inspired the poem In Flanders Fields, which was written on May 3, 1915, and first published in the British magazine Punch. This is musician and former Senator Tommy Banks reading In Flanders Fields.
In Flanders Fields, the poppies blow between the crosses, row on row that mark our place. And in the sky, the larks, still bravely singing, fly, scarce heard amid the guns below. We are the dead. Short days ago, we lived, felt dawn, saw sunset glow, loved, and were loved. And now we lie in Flanders Fields. Take up our quarrel with the foe. To you, from failing hands, we throw the torch. Be yours to hold it high. If you break faith with us who die, we shall not sleep, though poppies grow in Flanders Fields.
I'll go for you, I'll fight for you, I'll kill for you, I will. I'll go for you, I'll fight for you, I'll die for you, I will. And if I die, I'll die alone on some forgotten hill, abandoned by the mill. All my blood will spring and spill. I'll thrash the air and then be still. You wake with the start from a dream and know that I'm gone. You feel it in your heart, but not for very long. You rise each day as planned, your will is your command, and stand each Sunday a hymnal steady in your hand. You'll sing to yourself the rising, falling melody that you could never read without the choir's lead. Still alone and lost indeed, and your soul will not be free. hours I'll wait. Now we'll know without remorse or regret the fairness of our trade. For you to live, I took your place. A deal was made and I was paid. In gold, as I was told, was a place where my body could be laid. And you'll steal your life and die old in better homes, surrounded by your peers, without suffering or fear. Grandchildren far and near, and none will shed a tear for the love no longer here. I'll go for you, I will. I'll fight for you, I will. I'll kill for you, I will. I'll die for you, I will. I'll die alone like Jesus on the cross. My faith cannot be tossed, and my life will not be lost. My love comes across.
That's a piece of music written by Jeff Tweedy, leader of the band Wilco, from their self-titled album. The song was I'll Fight. This is the No Stone Left Alone radio special. I'm Tony King. Earlier in the show, founder of the No Stone Left Alone Memorial Foundation, Maureen Bianchini-Purvis, spoke of the importance in remembering those who have served our country throughout history. The phrase, lest we forget, has long held special meaning for us. But as Maureen mentioned, the mission of the No Stone Left Alone Memorial Foundation is to also honor our military personnel who are currently serving. Many of us think of war veterans as withered old men who gather in the legions to commiserate over beer and common experiences. While that is partially true, the curtain is still parted, and our country is actively involved in service around the world. Here, young veteran Brandon Nadeau talks about the experiences he lived through and the importance of reflection and remembering. You come to this as somebody who's a contemporary veteran, that is somebody who served. Can you just tell me about your service?
Sure. I served for 7 years. I joined in 2004 and retired in 2011. So most of my service was done in Edmonton. I did 2 tours to Afghanistan, each 7 months long. One was in the summer of 2007 and one was in the winter of 2009.
What precipitated your signing up?
To be honest, it was just an opportunity to have a job that I felt had some meaning to it.
So when you look at a job that has meaning to it, what do you mean by that exactly?
Just, I suppose, a purpose, something where I feel like what I've accomplished and what I do can benefit more people than myself.
And let's go to when you actually traveled out. So you went through basic training and all of that, and you traveled outside of home. What was that like?
Traveling outside of home was a bit of a shock at first because I grew up in Prince George, British Columbia, and hadn't had much experience with the world. So even just going to Quebec was a bit of a culture shock to me, where I did my basic training, and then coming into Edmonton, into a city, was different for me. It was an experience.
For somebody who grew up in Prince George?
Yeah, I grew up in a small town and ended up training in Germany for a couple of months, and the U.S., Mexico, Dubai, Cyprus, and of course Afghanistan as well. So got to do a lot of traveling with it.
And obviously seeing great and wonderful places worldwide would be a highlight. Does anything in particular stand out in all of those moments? Because you were serving in Afghanistan, for example. Is there a particular memory that stands out for you in your time there?
Well, there was a lot of memories, some good, some bad. And I don't know if I can point to any one thing in particular.
Anything good? Just give me an
Good,
example
sure.
of a good
A good
one.
thing.
Yeah.
I guess the camaraderie, the
Is that right?
experience that you have with all the people that you end up working with, not just from Canada, but with Afghans, members of their police force and army that we were mentoring, as well as people from other allied nations like the US, Australia, and Great Britain. So it was just awesome to have that kind of camaraderie and to interact and to all sort of come together for a greater purpose.
And can you tell me, having been involved in a contemporary sense in what's happening in Afghanistan, were you ever mindful of the experiences of soldiers past, those people who served in World War I in the trenches and on the beaches at Normandy, for example?
Absolutely. I was always making comparisons in my mind about things that were similar and things that were different. You know, struggles that they had that were obviously a lot worse than what I was experiencing, but some things that were sort of challenging for us that they may not have experienced.
And in particular, did that kind of uplift you? Did you feel like you had their spirit behind you in terms of belonging to something meaningful?
Absolutely. I always, in high school, during Remembrance Day and history class, I always greatly admired the veterans and what they'd accomplished, and I just thought they were the greatest heroes. And I knew I was going to join the Army, but I never thought I would find myself necessarily overseas in a combat situation to the extent where I could sit in a legion afterwards and talk with some of these veterans and actually have some common ground based on our experiences.
Absolutely.
So a bit of
somebody at your age sitting in the legion
Sure.
over a glass of beer talking
Right.
about your experiences, you wouldn't actually fathom that.
I didn't really see that coming. I thought I would just, because we were just basically a peacekeeping nation, even pretty much up to the point that I had joined, even though it was post 9/11. So I just didn't see that coming. And then when it became a reality, it was scary and it was life changing, but it was also very exciting for me that, okay, now I have this common ground with some real life heroes. So that was neat.
And at some point, was it terrifying?
Absolutely. There was tons of terrifying moments, especially on my first tour, which was filled with a lot of combat. What was interesting was the first few times were very terrifying and would paralyze me, but after a while it just becomes like another day in the office out there. So it's amazing what you can get used to.
Yeah, and I sit lazily behind a microphone and I think another day at the office, but I don't think my adrenaline or my parasympathetic nervous system could take something like that. So this Remembrance Day, are you going to be out there dropping a poppy at the graves of those soldiers who have served in the past? Or
I'll definitely try to catch a parade, or I'm never really sure which one I'm going to go to, but last year I went to the one in Churchill Square, and it was great to be part of.
So you're really mindful of the effort and the work that soldiers past, present, and in the future will put in.
Yes, I'm very mindful and very grateful.
There'll be bluebirds over the white cliffs of Dover tomorrow. Just you wait and see. I'll never forget the people I met braving those angry skies. I remember well as the shadows fell, the light of hope in their eyes. And though I'm far away, I still can hear them say, thumbs up. For when the dawn comes up, there'll be bluebirds over the white cliffs of Dover tomorrow. Just you wait and see. There'll be love and laughter and peace ever after tomorrow, when the world is free. The shepherd will tend his sheep, the valley will bloom again, and Jimmy will go to sleep in his own little room again. There'll be bluebirds over the white cliffs of Dover. Tomorrow, just you wait and see. There'll be bluebirds over the white cliffs of Dover. Tomorrow, just you wait and see.
That is Vera Lynn and The White Cliffs of Dover, recorded in 1942, just as Canada was in the midst of the Second World War. This is the No Stone Left Alone radio special. I'm Tony King. We have just about come to the end of our journey through the pages of history, but more importantly, hopefully we have placed a human face on the individuals who have and are still invested in serving our country. Maureen Bianchini Purvis is the president and founder of the No Stone Left Alone Memorial Foundation. When she was just 12 years old, her mother, a veteran, passed away. But before she slipped away, Maureen's mother asked her to carry the torch to impart the message to future generations, the lessons of engaging in war. Here, Maureen imparts her message.
It's a new generation of Canadians remembering, trying to hold on to that, not only the freedoms and liberties, but to our safety and security, to make sure we all remember them, that that's what they fought for.
Exactly. Harkening back to your mom and the effort that she put in, and people like my grandfather who really do stand to be forgotten. This is a foundation, and people can contribute and find out more information at your website, right?
Yes.
Oh, what's the website?
The website is nostoneleftalone.ca.
Okay, so in the next 5 years, what would you like to see happen?
Well, it's a lofty goal to say we want to reach them all. That is our goal. We would love that these like-minded Canadians start to embrace it in their own communities. And hopefully one day we'll be able to show the numbers that we did reach all those communities.
And you would like to see the next generation and future generations, the waves that breach on the shore, come to realize the importance of remembering.
Exactly. We need to remember, because Canada is a wonderful country, very strong in the world, and it's because of those guys. And, you know, they came home and said, this is the country we want to have with these freedoms.
That was Maureen Bianchini Purvis. Thank you for tuning in to the No Stone Left Alone radio special. We could not have put this program together without consulting and using the talents of Tracy Poulin and her students Fiona, Kelton, Wing, and Harmony. In addition, we thank Brandon Nadeau and Lieutenant Colonel Paul Payton for their kind contributions, and of course Randall Purvis and Maureen Bianchini Purvis for throwing as much positive energy our way as possible. Finally, on the production side, thanks to Elliot Garnier, our senior producer, and Kennedy Pollock for his research. I'm Tony King, your host and producer of this show. Thank you for listening. Let's give the last word to the girls from Nellie McClung School as they read reflection letters from students based on their experiences placing poppies on the graves of the fallen.
Last November, I was honored to be one of the school attending No Stone Left Alone at Beach Mound Cemetery. It was a breathtaking experience, and it really made me realize all the amazing sacrifices that the military makes for us. I liked how we all took the time to put a poppy on each one of the graves. It gave us a chance to pay our respects to the people who died fighting for their country. Seeing all the soldiers there to support the other soldiers was touching, because even though they didn't know each other, they were still there. We were all freezing in the cold weather, And then I thought that we shouldn't be complaining because the soldiers have been through worse weather conditions and still had to keep going because they had to protect us and our country. The speeches that were said at the ceremony were really inspiring to hear, and it was inspiring that the whole ceremony had been organized for those who passed and for those who will always be in our hearts and never forgotten.
Wow, what an amazing thing to do. Sure, our hands froze stiff and we couldn't feel our faces, but knowing deep down that we were doing something that all gave us a warm feeling. I think I speak for my peers when I say that everyone was touched. Reading the names of so many who have served for our country stirred up strong emotions. Those emotions will not soon be forgotten, and with them lives the memory of the father, brother, mother, boyfriend, or grandpa, or any other loved one who sacrificed so much for our happiness today. It is important to remember those who were so willing to give, and for that I thank No Stone Left Alone.
I think that No Stone Left Alone is a great movement that the entire world should be involved in. For me, being down at Mount Pleasant was nice. I was paired up with a soldier, and after a short ceremony and a moment of silence, we proceeded to a section of the cemetery and we began looking for the graves of soldiers. After each time I laid a poppy down and backed up, the soldier would salute and I would quietly read the name to myself. It was sad to see all the men who died to keep our country free. Sometimes I wish I could meet these men and show them how thankful I am.
Last night I had the strangest dream I'd ever dreamed before. I dreamed the world had all agreed to put an end to war. I dreamed I saw a mighty room filled with women and men, and the paper they were signing said